And MiRai making it through the Wilson, only to find it's a dead end. I don't remember who rolled this seed, but I can check real quick out of curiosity. This was Diesel, our restreamer, rolled this one. Yeah. And as expected, Chroma is going to go straight into this palace, just clearing out everything as he goes. Figures, the potential time loss from not having the glove is worth the potential time save of not having to walk back to these dungeons. And boy, are they just keep on coming with the extremely fast bosses. And one hit to knock Rebo down, 3 hits to finish him off, and that's our 3rd palace completed here for Chroma. And given that Chroma seems to be on the full clear everything until with gloves and boots still outstanding, I think we're going to see Chroma clear out every dungeon that he can find. Look for all the items. So far, it hasn't paid off particularly well, but all it takes is one required glove or boots in one of these palaces to be just a huge time save. And of course, the time loss very short again because these palaces are just boss item go. We had a very short 6 with an item not too far off. 3 was basically 4 rooms long. And I believe MiRai has picked up the spell. Yep. We are not on short GP, with this being the semifinals, or the lower bracket finals, as it were. We are on full long GP. Although our runners certainly are going to benefit from being on extremely high levels for that. And a hint that the flute is found here in the east. We have not yet seen the River Devil, and with this being islands, the River Devil's likelihood of being required is much higher than usual, but still not very high. Also, still the possibility of 3-Eye Rock containing a palace, but with this first palace in the east being found, those odds are reducing rapidly. And unfortunately, it's Palace 4, so MiRai will not be continuing on. And pick your poison, 2 long bridges. This one, though, containing the raft. Or the raft tile, rather. Chroma back here in Maze Island, gonna find his hammer and his dead-end bridge. Yep, we do have a required child for the Thunder Spell. We're going to get a hint about that shortly. And up down the chimney, MiRai comes to pick up his upstab. Chroma going to be saddened by just a hard container, but he knows that he has already found literally all of the items that are currently in logic for him. His progression has to be the second island here in Maze Island, and it is going to be the hammer. The child also in the east. So the east just full of required items and potentially required items, but unfortunately, the 2 of them in New Kasuto going to be a bit difficult to grab. We're going to find out where this raft goes, and no surprise, it is to Death Mountain. And MiRai not interested in exploring that without the boots. And that's confirmation we are in fact on Triple Islands biome. A fine setup here in the lower bracket finals. Star would be proud. And of course, it wouldn't be a true Triple Island biome seed without the boots being still nowhere in sight. And we've gotten a lot of item exploration. We've gotten a lot of hints. Those boots are just completely absent. But a risen P-Bag cave here from MiRai. And with how many items that he knows of significance are in the East, as well as obviously the glove and the boot still being outstanding, this is a pretty high likelihood of being valuable. And of course, Commentator's Curse reveals that it is in fact just a heart container. That is very unfortunate. Chromataclysm also cannot resist the allure of the 700-point blue with Alphos. Gonna go try and take out the second one, but taking the traditional death. That water tile also, very high likelihood of having something valuable in it, but unfortunately, still not accessible. Yeah, the old woman definitely makes an additional magic container being somewhat valuable, but we do need 7 this time, so it's one of those things where like, okay, well that's a start of maybe being useful. MiRai taking the travel cave and just looping him over to where that bridge he had seen earlier was, but what do we got down here? It's a bridge tile. And MiRai is looking pretty lost. Trying to think out where he should go, where the logic could potentially take him. Wouldn't be surprised if he's going to make the decision at this point to head out to Death Mountain. As awful as that sounds, doing an Islands Death Mountain with no boots. He's pretty well explored most of this East and just has not found progression. And, you know, as far as he knows, progression could potentially be in one of those palaces he hasn't done back in the West, but you know, at this point, you know, if you're MiRai and you haven't completed any of those dungeons, you made this gamble on the East being where you have to go for logic. I think you have to stick with it and just keep exploring and hoping you can find something. He does have enough to cast spells, so going to pick up just the first item here in New Kasuto, and Chromataclysm getting the bad news that his 6 containers also not enough. Okay, what are we finding behind Spell Tower? It's just the flute, unfortunately. And MiRai giving up on the East. And neither of our runners know it at this point, but with MiRai's exploration of the East and Chromataclysm's exploration of the palaces here, it's looking very, very likely that Death Mountain is in fact where our progression is. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to know that for some time yet, as it looks like MiRai is going to double back to the palaces and Chromataclysm explores here in the East. It is also possible that that Palace 4 we saw down in the southeast of the East is hiding one of our required items. It's never a play that you want to make heading into Palace 4 without Reflect, but if Fire is in fact Reflect, I think we'll definitely see Chromataclysm dig that when he gets to it. Chromataclysm looking to get encounter skips here on the desert bridge, and just, ooh, that bot absolutely not cooperating with him. I mean, you can do buffers to try and get those skips, but there's no guarantee that the enemies will ever behave exactly as you want them to. There are pretty good guides out there for how all the different enemy types are going to behave at different points, so that you can manipulate their AI. But it's a difficult thing to do in real time in a randomizer. Looked like MiRai was trying to get the setup for the damage boost across the gap, but just casts Fairy. It is possible with a couple different kinds of flying enemies to damage boost that gap, but it is a very tricky timing. And I don't know if the sine wave heads are one of them, but I'm pretty sure they are. Even with attack 6, Barba taken quite a few stabs to kill, but MiRai getting 4 or 5 hits a cycle, gonna have no problem taking him down. Alright, and this is definitely gonna be where we find out whether fire is reflect. Yeah, Chromataclysm deciding to go in, that pretty much confirms that that fire is in fact reflect, and he's just gonna clear this out. Yeah, I know the square wave heads you can definitely do, but the sine wave heads, given that you can make pretty much any kind of motion happen with them just by manipulating where they appear on the screen, I imagine that you definitely can do it, but I don't know any of the setups for it, so. And this XP continuing to flow here in Palace 4 for Chromataclysm. Decently strong chance he's just going to pick up Magic 7 here the standard way. And, oh, as soon as I say that, of course, here's the boss. First, Chromataclysm executing the time-honored and extremely difficult strategy of crouch in the corner and reflect all the spells. Carrick not being very kind here, dodging pretty effectively. And unfortunately, 700 points not quite going to be enough. 1,000 would have done it for the double level, but I think Chromataclysm, no, he is going to try and take the second level. It's and this is an immediate dead end, but okay, well, doesn't cost him too much extra time going for this additional level. And with this level here, that is a guarantee that Chromataclysm will be finishing the seed on 888. Barring him deciding to burn some of his later gems, which is a decision that he could definitely make. Once you get up to it requiring 8,000 or 9,000 points to gain a level, just the time it takes for that to spin up can be high enough that it's worth just taking the reset and save yourself 10 or 15 seconds. Like with neither runner having found the boots here, it's very questionable. Yeah, Chromataclysm does decide that he doesn't want to go any further in getting the boots, but at this point, Chromataclysm, he's got to figure that he's cleared so many of these palaces. He may just be like, I know where almost everything is. I think I'm going to be able to finish this seed without the boots. He just wants to go, but he is still going to need to find the glove as well, so we'll see. I know MiRai knows that he's the child. I don't know if Chromataclysm does. I don't think he's been to Darunia yet. Okay, Chromataclysm does see the additional palace by looking through the wall here from Palace 1, but I didn't see whether there was any land route to it. It may be that this second palace in the east is boots blocked. And if that becomes the case, then it's definitely going to be required, but we didn't quite get full vision on it. Yeah, so I'm not counting this Palace 1 in Valley of Death as being in the east. It's yeah, glove not technically required, but man, with long GP, I don't think any runner would ever consider taking that gamble. There's still a few locations we haven't seen. We haven't seen the item in Palace 4. We haven't seen the item behind the old woman in New Kasuto. Obviously, we haven't seen the water tile on account of not having boots. And Death Mountain, still fully in logic, although one of the items is known to be a heart container. And Chroma is going to dig out this Palace 1 for the item. Definitely not surprising. It's the shortest of the palaces, and with it being out in Death Valley, just the longest one to get to. Oh, and unfortunately, it looks like the item in Palace 1 is glove blocked. So we know it's not the glove. Boy, if the boots turn out to be glove blocked in Palace 1 and our runners have to go back into there, it's going to be... We might be in for a longer one here. MiRai, having picked up his trophy from 6, does pick up Fire Spell, and probably suspects it's Reflect at this point. But I imagine he's going to do a little bit of science and confirm it. Yeah, and it looks like the Palace 5 definitely hard boots blocked. And hello, everyone coming in from the Ocho here. SpeedGaming 8. This is the lower bracket finals for the Zelda 2 randomizer tournament, and boy howdy has it been a seed. MiRai with a little bit of an exploration advantage on the east that Chromataclysm's closing up. MiRai trying to come back from a pretty substantial palace deficit, but he's clearing these pretty quickly. But we do know that our boots are going to be hard required to find Palace 5, the last palace left here for Chromataclysm. MiRai placing his third gem. And for Chromataclysm at this point, his only real options are, aside from he's gonna find the remaining PBI capes pretty quickly here. He's gonna be looking at going back into 4, trying to find that second item in an unfortunate island's Death Mountain. And neither of those are great options, but really there's not a whole ton left. Hello to Raiders here from SpeedGaming 2. This has just been an absolute glory of a seed. All east, west, and Death Mountain, all islands. And the boots are nowhere to be found and hard required. I don't know if that River Devil is blocking an item to the east. I know there is a vertical facing path all the way on the east, sort of heading from the southeast to the northeast. So it's possible that there's a way up into that. Chroma just continuing his exploration, though, here on the east. And unfortunately, wow, the 7 magic containers getting him an additional magic container. definitely what he wanted to find. What with being on the 788 here. Yeah, there's still a couple locations left in Logic for the boots. I don't think we've gotten a hint about them, so could be Desert Tile, could be Palace 4, could be Death Mountain still. Boy, a required trip into Island's Death Mountain with no boots would just be absolutely trolly. Did we get a hint that the boots are in the east? I had missed that. So yeah, if boots are in the east, it must be the Desert Tile. And that being the case, I'm somewhat surprised neither of our runners have found it so far. I'm pretty sure MiRai and Chromataclysm have had the flute this whole exploration trip to the east. Oh, MiRai, Chromataclysm, I think may have just picked it up from Spell Tower. Yeah, this is best of one. We are closing in on the end of this tournament. The winner of this match is gonna go on to face Lightning in the grand finals tomorrow. The loser gonna be going home in a non-literal sense. They are in fact already home. Yeah, the item in 1 has not been found yet, but we do know that it is glove blocked, so it is not the glove. But other than that, could be any of our remaining items. Yeah, I know there was a hint for the child being in the east, so maybe that's maybe that's a point of confusion, because I think we found both caves. We haven't checked the water tile in the east, obviously. But I suspect if Chroma had a hint that the boots were in the east, he would have already, continued his search for them. Because Chroma gonna be clearing out this Palace 4. Yeah, 64 Rooms of Pain still waiting for our runners. Yeah, 5 or 10 minute advantage. Not enough to feel safe coming into Great Palace. With the long GP being in store, any wrong turn could lead you into just a 15-room loop and blow away any lead you had coming. Obviously, you want to get in there with as many lives and as much of a time advantage as possible, but the extremely great equalizer that is a long GP can still do anything. Yeah, Irene... There's I think everyone who was looking for any kind of troll possible has found it here in this seed. I think the only thing that's been nice for our runners is in the west, the small enemy group had 500-point P-bags, pretty common on the drop table. And so our runners, as you can see, are on extremely generous levels. Chromataclysm looking to close out the seed on 888. MiRai going to be slightly lower than that, but plenty high enough. Yeah, 700-point blue lizards out in Maze Island, including at least one screen with 2 of them right next to each other, and a nice convenient wall to stab them up against. Going to be no problem with experience for our runners. And Chromataclysm just continuing to dig his way through this 4 has not proven to be a short one for the items, unlike a lot of the other dungeons. See if MiRai gets a better pattern here. And not looking like it. Yeah, just dodge. Also seems to have rolled up on health a little bit. It took a couple hits for that first bar to go down, but not too long of a pattern for MiRai, given the possibilities. And MiRai now only one palace behind. And unfortunately, finding the path right beyond the boss, just a real quick dead end. One of MiRai's strengths is he is one of the most knowledgeable people I know about quickly identifying all of the different community rooms. I know he has been working on a guide that hopefully should be out sometime before Max Rando starts, on all of the different community rooms, how to progress through them, how to identify them quickly. And another elevator room here for chromataclysm. The great P4 that never ends. Yeah, MiRai had oh, here's the glove! We have found our glove here in P4. The question is now, does Chroma keep looking, or does he try to dig that item out of P1? I think he's gonna, at the very least, he hasn't checked this raft tile. He's now gonna get the knowledge about the child being in the east. So he's got a little bit of stuff to check before going back to P1, but it is definitely going to be on the top of his mind once he, unfortunately, crosses off these last few remaining easy locations in the east. Yeah, and MiRai looks like he's taking a similar route to chromataclysm, which is a bit unfortunate because it means he's going to be in here a while. Unfortunately, discovering that he has in fact taken the standard loop. Chromataclysm confirming that the child is in fact in the east. And this is going to be our. That's the pass through. The P-bag cave is here. MiRai finding that elevator room, deciding to take this bottom left first before taking the upper left that I believe is the correct route that leads to the item. Although it looks like it just loops back around on itself anyway. Chroma being disappointed by a heart. Yeah, MiRai, okay, he's got the glove now. Him not having to double dip this for has definitely gained him quite a bit of time here. And wouldn't be surprised if he's going to go straight up to Death Valley, try to clear out Palace 1. And with him having the glove coming into Palace 1, he's also not going to have to double dip that. So if this P1 item turns out to be one of our required items, this could be a huge advantage for MiRai, potentially catching him back up into a lead. But we'll see how long it is before Chromataclysm decides to head back to P1. He does not want to do Death Mountain here, and I don't blame him. An island's Death Mountain with only one of the items being unknown is just bad times. Yeah, I think he was just checking that first cave to see if that very happily turned out to be the Hammer Cave, but yeah. So it looks like this section all the way on the east for Chromataclysm does not, in fact, lead all the way up to that section that was blocked by the River Devil. So still a strong likelihood that River Devil path all the way from the north to the northeast is going to be where our desert tile lies. But once Chromataclysm heads back over there, is he going to try and take that path, or is he going to try and go back into Palace 1. And MiRai taking a look up here in the northeast before he heads into Palace 1. We'll see if he decides to blow down the River Devil and see what he hides. You can't quite see what's behind it. And he's gonna take the trip. Meanwhile, Chromataclysm going straight back into P1, and yep, this is where our desert tile is. And it is in fact the child. As well as our last town, which unfortunately is just going to be Reflect. MiRai is going to pick it up. And looks disappointed in himself for forgetting that process of elimination means that it is definitely not a useful spell, but thankfully not costing him too much time. So MiRai's picked up one of our 2 remaining required items, and the child Chroma here hoping that the boots are going to be here in 1. If they are, then he looks like he's going to continue to be ahead. But if they're not, then means that we're taking a trip into Death Mountain. And the other big question is, Chromataclysm had the flute when he was up there next to the River Devil the previous time. Does he know that that path is one that he hasn't checked and needs to go and visit? If he doesn't end up discovering that location, he could potentially lose quite a bit of time exploring. Here's our item. It is the boots! And with that, Chromataclysm is going to crack this seed wide open. That River Devil, no longer required. But he can't be happy about his decision to skip the item, and he had checked all the item locations in all the palaces up until Palace 4, decided to skip that one, and just getting very punished for it. But Chroma's gonna zip right out of here. The big question at this point, will he decide to dig around and try and find that desert tile before going into Palace 5, or will he just head right into 5 here? And it looks like he's just going straight to 5. He's not even going to check the water tile. Chroma has one thing in mind, and that's go mode. Yeah, Chroma, he still doesn't have the child, but he knows that the child is in the east. And so, not checking the water tile is a bit of an odd choice, but because he knows that the child is in the east, he knows he doesn't have to check this item in 5. He knows to just treat this palace as though it's go mode, and then he can look for the child afterward. It doesn't really change his time very much either way. And unfortunately, a whole bunch of lefts showing themselves pretty early here. MiRai very quickly using his fairy feet to get through the Valley of Death. And which left is going to turn out to be the true one here in Palace 5? Only 77.90 for attack 8 here. Well, what I assume is attack 8. This is definitely possible that with it being such a low value, that this is actually life 9. Which would not be what Chromataclysm's looking for, but can always just burn it away. I don't think the difference between attack 7 and attack 8 is going to make that much of a difference. And okay, yep, there's the item room, and Chromataclysm is just like, nope, I don't even care. Nope, changing his mind, deciding he is going to care. But we know this is not a required item. Just going to pick up the cross. And MiRai placing his 5th gem here. Will he decide to dig out the item here in this Palace 1? I think very high likelihood. Given that at this point he knows that his alternative is going to Island's Death Mountain. Chromataclysm taking some stabs. Guma here being surprisingly resilient in the face of attack 7. But there's only so much he can do to stand up to the might of attack 7, and goes down. A mere 700 points, meaning nothing to Chromataclysm. And yep, just deciding to burn the gem. I like it. Doesn't have any desire to take what is likely attack 7, or life at 9 rather, and just gonna save the 15 seconds or however long it's gonna take to count up to that. Yep, and with water tile not containing his child, he's going to immediately assume that the desert tile is going to be up here in the corner, and he is in fact right. And Chromataclysm also checking the side for the Toad he knows is Reflect already, but deciding not to pick it up. And with that child, Chromataclysm is now in go mode, right as MiRai picks up his boots. Which is, unfortunately means that he is a full Palace 5 behind. Chromataclysm does need to make his way over to Thunderspell, but we know the Great Palace is 7 or 8 steps away from the start, so it's going to be a real quick entrance as soon as he does finish picking up the Thunderspell. Yeah, MiRai's body language definitely indicating that he has not been happy with some of the things that have happened this seed. And I can't blame him. It definitely feels bad to effectively having last location to everything. ZSR is a hard game. Or Zelda 2 Randomizer, rather. It's a difficult game. The logic can be cruel. The map generation can be triple island biomes. But you know, we play it because we love the pain. And Chromataclysm with his Thunderspell, of course, going to take the up A, and I was a little underestimating. It looks like it's at least 15 or 20 steps here. Yep, Chromataclysm has reached full dig shake. Gonna go for a full clear on the board. Short 2 heart containers, and at this point we've seen literally every other item in the seed. So that means that the last 2 remaining item checks in Death Mountain are in fact both heart containers. And just a reminder for everyone, this is in fact long GP. So we're going to be looking at between 25 and 50% more rooms that contain only 2 exits. Meaning we could very easily have a 40 or 50 room long route to Thunderbird and eventually to Dark Link. So strap yourselves in. This could be a long one. Yep, it is also always possible that it's short. Long GP only increases the number of rooms in the palace, but does not have any guarantee that Thunderbird and Darklink are not very short. Yeah, don't think we're quite going to hit a 40 or 50 minute GP with runners of this caliber, but it could definitely stretch it into the 20 or 30 minute range. I know we just the other day with I believe Level Engine had a 23-minute long short GP. So it can definitely be painful. Ooh, and a blue bird knight immediately rejected Chromataclysm's attempt to jump over. And, you know, for only missing 2 items, both of them being hard containers, is a little bit sad with a long GP that you're going to make your way through. Spicy Chicken being extremely rude, and oh boy, the lag. The NES does not like to deal with that many sprites being on the screen at once, especially within the relatively limited resources that Zelda 2 has. Oh, and a bubble, unfortunately, given Chroma the bonk. And down to his last life already. There's unfortunately still plenty of forks that he found. And not a lot of useful information, aside from knowing where more forks are. The potential benefit of having a highly forked GP early is that any one of these forks could lead to Thunderbird, and then you can eliminate all of the others from your mind. But it could also be that any number of them could just be red herrings, and you could be taking some loops and dead ends for a while. Oh. Chromataclysm getting lucky and successfully getting a red jar instead of a bird knight, and find Thunderbird! All of those forks and the natural route leads right to it. Forget about all of those forks. This is the way. And with Fire being Reflect and Magic 8 containers having enough to cast Shield and Reflect for safeties here on Thunderbird, Attack 7 going to be no problem. 3 cycles his way through. And ordinarily, I would say, with that much of GP having been eliminated with all of those forks, we could see a Dark Link soon. But with long GP being in logic, we could still be in for quite some more. And Chroma is on his last life, so could oh, and of course, as soon as I begin to say that, here's Dark Link immediately after Thunderbird. Long GP? Nah. And despite how trolly this seed is going to be, Chroma looking to finish potentially with a sub 70 here. As he continues to beat him up, and yep, getting the last hit the old-fashioned way. And with that, Chromataclysm is your winner here in the lower bracket finals, with a official race time 1:07:50 on the clock. And it looks like MiRai, having seen that, just decides to set his controller down, and he has in fact forfeited. But a good showing for both our runners, just a real trolly seed. And we'll see if we can get either our runners here for an interview. And we've got both MiRai and Chromataclysm here for the interview. GG's to both of you.
Thank you so much.
I wish it were a good game, but unfortunately it was not a good game from my perspective.
Yeah, there was some suggestion in the chat before the scene started that they were looking for a triple islands biome, and unfortunately, chat has won here. That was a really, really trolly layout.
I believe the official name is Hot Garbage.
That's that's accurate. For most of the early part of the seed, Chromataclysm had a big advantage doing all the palaces right away. But MiRai, you had gotten to the east quite a bit before Chroma, having found the hammer in Maze Island. And we were all wondering, between both of you, we'd seen so many locations, but that glove and those boots just continued to resist being found.
Yeah, sometimes you get these item chains like that. I feel like it doesn't happen as often as it could in the randomizer, but every now and then you get something really, really tricky like that, where you have to go between inconvenient locations that you wouldn't otherwise be checking to get things going. But yeah, I have a feeling most of this race was just walking around the islands, dealing with some of that. The the place where I started to get nervous was actually fairly early on, when I was in Palace 2, I think was Maze Island Palace. And I up-8'd out of there and saved because I wanted to check some of the other west locations, but realized right after doing that I didn't even look for the items in Maze Island. So missed out on the hammer until I came back there again. Apart from that, I don't really have any complaints. It was a hard seed to read. I'll say that for it. The experience was really nice. The early levels were really, really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, we were hoping to see 888, but you pretty reasonably decided just to light that last gem on fire and move on.
Not this time. Not gonna wait for 8,000 experience to tally up with already with attack 7 and life 8 and all that.
Yeah, with long GP being in Logic, that beginning of GP looked like it was going to be really bad with how many forks you had found, but then it just sort of ended.
Yeah, it was the right turn. I took the first left, which is a thing that I'll do every now and then. Mostly just because if I go back to that point, if I have to up A when I'm really deep in there, I know I've got a right, like right there. And just kind of lucked out that having taken that left, as long as I stayed right and didn't follow any of the other detours, it went pretty quickly. So I'm curious because GP hasn't really turned into much of a factor in the last few rounds. At least in the races I've been involved with. It really could be, in these later rounds. You'd think it would, but we've had some really short ones lately.
Yeah, I'm curious. What both of you thought. Seeing Death Mountain be yet another island with no route in there. Having already known one of the items, but you guys were getting pretty far down to it as far as item locations. Did either of you consider taking a trip into Death Mountain and potentially trying to dig out the other item?
What? You're giggling. Death Mountain is... Go ahead.
What would have been the point? Boots were the thing we needed. And boots were pretty much what you needed. Like, an island Death Mountain without boots is almost always a terrible idea. So the thought, yeah, it could be in Death Mountain, but that's absolutely the last thing I'm gonna do if I have to.
Yeah, well, it almost came down to it.
It was close. I still had a few more west locations too, because there was that fairy cave that took you over to another portion. I was still missing 3 locations in the west. but sounds like they weren't worth that.
Yeah, I think the only things you had left in Logic, aside from the inaccessible water tile, were the desert P1 and Death Mountain, and P1 and P1 and the desert tile turned out to be the last two items. Although I know you had the child hint.
Yeah, P1 made the most sense exploration-wise, I think, because Death Mountain was those islands. Desert Tile, I could have been trying to go through a few pass-through caves. I feel like I'd mostly seen where they went at that point. So it was either going to be the west or that Palace 1 location, and because I could see Palace 5, I really did not want to go back to the west unless it was totally necessary. So P1 it was, and got lucky with that.
All right, well, I think that's about all I have for questions. Either you have any final thoughts, comments, feelings about the seed?
I got one thing I want to say, and that's just that before this tournament, MiRai started like streaming only recently, and has been part of the randomizer community, I think, since around the the last Max Rando or something like that. Really involved in the Discord and making resources and videos and things, and this is the first between this and the standard tournament we just did. These are MiRai's like first tournament showings. So I mean that's really fantastic performance, and just shows that you practice this game, you get better at it, and you keep playing and you keep getting better, and it's been really cool to see that. So, dude, this is a fantastic finish, and I think I admire what you've done.
Well, thank you, Chroma. Well, we're going to exchange some words here then. Yeah, I have only been here for about 13 months, and I wasn't actually in the standard tournament. I didn't join because I didn't really think that my skill set was ready at that point. And I only stepped into this tournament, and obviously I made it a whole lot further than I thought I was going to make it. I just wish that tonight's showing, if I was going to go out as I did tonight, I just wish the showing was a whole lot better than it was. The whole time it's like I'm missing two locations on the west. I'm thinking Chroma's got the boots. I was feeling behind the moment I'm looking for Bagoo without even having stepped foot in Saria right there, thinking, wait, it could literally be the front and it could be Fairy Spell. And lo and behold, it was. And right there, I'm like, I'm already behind. And then from there it sounds like actually I had it, because I was on the east, and that's where Reflect was, even though Trophy Fire was Reflect as well. And that's how I got through that, because I didn't find Old Kusuto too much later. And it was right there, kind of. You had to take the spell back and get the spell tower, and then get the flute, I think is where that was, and then go across the bridge to Old Kusuto and get the Reflect spell. And it sounds like I could have just backtracked at that point and gone into P4, and then magically had the glove. But I mean, this would have been like, that would have been a play that I'm not really sure I would have made, even had I not been feeling super, super rushed. Like 2 islands, I'm thinking the boots should be available somewhat soonish, and I don't have them. And it's minutes and minutes and tens of minutes are going by, and I'm completely just worrying like a madman at this point. And it doesn't sound like I was too far behind, but man, there were a lot of things early on that just I could have played a whole lot better. And I just wish my showing was better than it was. And I'll be honest, I wanted a rematch against Light. But I will say this:
finish would have been nice. That would have made this a lot more exciting for sure.
Yeah, I was honestly thinking I was behind, and when I saw the boots, I was thinking maybe I'm not behind. Maybe I'm not. Maybe because this is like last locationing the boots for me, and maybe you did the same, but you were obviously faster at doing it than I was. And I will say this: when I first got into the community here, there's a few people that perform well, and you watch constantly. And very early on, when I started as an audience member, just last year, around the same time, about 13 months ago, it was, Trails and our RCS and Light. I talked to Light earlier on the re-stream from our match last week with Joshy D and so maybe if he's listening, he'll hear this as well, or some other people will hear the same thing. Those are the people that I really enjoyed watching and always watched all their races. Chroma, you as well there at the end, but I think, I think you would say that you got a lot better this year compared to last year.
For sure.
So, this year it's been amazing watching you play, and there are a handful of runners that I have been watching and studying and trying to mimic and adopt the way that those people play. And you are in that group. And I wanted to give you a run for your money tonight. Unfortunately, not quite. You're faster than I am still, but maybe next time.
So it goes. I do have the vanilla training on my side. I play a lot of vanilla categories and really enjoy chasing down those times. But you're in this group. You made it here, and just your performance in Seeds of the Week and weekly races and in this tournament show that like you definitely belong to be here. So went this way this time in a future tournament. It more than likely will go a totally different way, and we'll have our chance at that photo finish at some point, I'm sure.
I sure hope so, man. All right, good luck against Light, but well,
Thanks.
I'm not gonna say who my money's on, but
don't. Yeah,
we'll see. It could go either way.
That sounds good to me. I'd rather those polls remain anonymous personally. Very good.
All right, so yeah, as MiRai mentioned, the finals for this tournament will be tomorrow night sometime, I believe, between Chromataclysm and Lightning. Look forward to seeing that on SpeedGaming.
We're tentative 7 p.m. tomorrow night.
All right,
tentative, not official yet.
I'm sure when that gets scheduled, you can find it on the SpeedGaming Live tournament schedule, as well as the Z2R Discord. But I think that's all for us tonight. I want to thank both of our runners, MiRai and Chromataclysm. Give them a follow. They've been absolutely great this tournament and in general. Thanks to my tracker, Lost the Pirate. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for the finals.